What is going on, guys? We are back playing some more Surviving with Astral Sorcery. Now today we actually have quite a fair bit of stuff to go over. We're going to start out with going over rock crystal ore and the rock crystals that come along with that when you mine it, both in how to find it and all the different properties that each rock crystal has the potential of getting. Then we are going to do our first luminous crafting table craft, which is going to be the Lightwell, and that is going to use rock crystals and allow us to produce liquid starlight. Now that liquid starlight is going to allow us to do a lot of different things, but the main thing we're using it in today's episode for is going to be for making the Fosic Resonator, which is going to allow us to find areas of high starlight so that we can place down our luminous crafting table there and hopefully have enough starlight to do a lot of future crafts in the coming episodes. So, like I said, quite a bit of stuff to cover, but if you saw last episode, you'll know that we went around to a couple shrines, one of them we're in right now, and we crafted the resonating wand. Now, I did mention at the end of last episode that this has a lot of uses, and one of them was going to come in handy right out the gate, and that is exactly where we're starting today with actually locating the rock crystal ore. Because it's actually very difficult to come across, it's very scarce compared to a lot of the ore generation that comes along typically in modded Minecraft, which is very similar to the regular ore generation in Minecraft. This one is very few and far between, and with good reason, because they are very useful. Now, I would say that you actually probably won't really stumble across any of these while you're mining regularly, specifically because of where they spawn, so the way you're going to find them is by waiting until it's nighttime, which of course it is becoming right now, and whipping out the resonating wand. And simply by holding this, you will start seeing particle effects like we have right over here coming out of the dirt to indicate that if you were to dig all the way down, you would find a rock crystal ore. Now, when I say dig all the way down, I mean all the way down, because rock crystal ore spawns essentially at bedrock, right? Bedrock obviously is not a single layer. It spawns, around Y level 4 or 5 or so. And so you will find it mixed around the bedrock. And that's why you probably will not come across it when you're mining regularly. I honestly don't know anyone that mines down that deep. And so if I were to go mining, I would not find it. So you're going to have to go out, grab a pickaxe, and actually do some exploring to get your hands on these, at least initially. Later down the line, we'll be able to duplicate these and combine them and do all this crazy stuff, but initially we need to actually do some mining for them. So you're going to locate it with the resonating wand, you're going to run right over to it, and you basically have two options when it comes to getting this. You can do what most people do, which is just go straight down to it, or if you're planning on going mining and you don't really need it immediately, you can feel free to set a waypoint wherever it is, and then when you are down underground, even if it's daytime, you will still be able to tell where it is, and you can just mine on your way, while you're mining other things, and grab this along the way. So because we are, of course, in dire need of this in today's episode, we are going to go straight down to it. Or should I say we're going to go relatively straight down, because since we are Minecraft experts here, we obviously know that it is extremely dangerous to mine straight down. You're basically playing Russian roulette with lava, thinking that it's not going to be below you, so we'll do a relatively safe way of getting down to it by either doing a spiral staircase so we can come back up easily, or, the stand in the middle of the blocks and then go left, right, left, right. Either one is fine, but we're going to make it down in this general area to find the rock crystal ore. And I'm probably going to speed that up on camera right now so you can see us getting down there. And then we'll hop back when we are at the bottom to actually discuss it a little bit more. Okay guys, so suffice to say I botched it up a little bit because apparently I mined down here so perfectly that one of the two blocks that I was mining to get down here, as you probably saw when I was speeding up the clip, ended up being the actual rock crystal ore. Now, you can see that when it breaks, it's pretty noticeable because these things essentially look the same way that the collection crystal looked in the shrine when we exposed it to Starlight. And so right here, we got the drops from the rock crystal ore. You're going to get multiple rock crystals from it, from each one. And so if we go to actually pick these up, we're going to need a ton of room in our inventory. And so there's a couple things that I can filter out to get these because I do not have much inventory room. We're basically living like a nomad right now, pretty much because we, well, that's pretty much what we are for the time being until we find a suitable place to live. Now, it looks like we've grabbed both of them, so we only got 2 from here. But once you get these, you'll notice something. They are not stacking. That is a huge annoyance that is going to come along with these, I have to let you know, but they will not stack. And that is because each one of them is going to have specific properties to it that you can see here. This one has shape 3 and tool durability 1, and then it actually also has something seems to be here, but understanding of it is not yet revealed. So apparently we are too stupid to understand what the third thing is. No offense to any of us. I'm sure we're all very smart, but the mod thinks that we are too dumb. So we'll have to wait on that one. And this one has purity 2, shape 1, tool durability 2. So I am actually going to pop up on screen right now because there are way too many to talk about. All the different properties and all the different maximum tiers that they can have and what those do on the screen in a little image. Now this was actually published, as far as I'm aware, on the Astral Sorcery Discord. So this is all the information that you would need on the new properties. There used to be significantly less, but now they've added a ton of new ones in, and these properties will all do different things when you end up using these crystals. So if you're using them for making tools, lenses, all these different things down the road, you're going to want to basically make the perfect crystal for those situations. Now, a couple things to note about this really quick for those of you who may be a little further along. For the actual rock crystals, you can have a max level of 8. And each tier is going to count as a level. So obviously purity 2, shape 1, tool durability 2 would put it at 5 out of 8. Now that means that you're going to not be able to put everything on these. I believe in the old Astral Sorcery, you used to be able to max out the rock crystals with maximums of everything. Now you're actually going to have a limit. You're probably going to have to put a little bit of thought into what you actually want to put on these. And also, there's pretty interesting ways to sort of min-max these because in each tier up, as you can see, is going to add certain percentages on, but those are additive from their same property, but across properties that have the same increases, they are multiplicative. So basically think of that in, it might actually be better to have a, shape 1 or 2, or size 1 or 2 and purity 2 instead of having one of those at tier 3. So there's a lot of different things that you can think, to min-max these things, and we will be going over how to do that in the future. But just so you guys know, these are all going to come with different properties. It makes it so they can't stack. And if you want to know what those properties do, you can feel free to go back to the section with that image. And I will also link it in the description of this video in case you want to save it yourself for future use. So these are essentially rock crystals. Now we can head back up to the surface. You're probably going to want to get at least a couple of these, but for now, this will suffice. And I will actually let you guys know when we're back at the surface because it's going to take us a little bit of time to get back up there. Okay guys, so we are now back on the surface. We are good to start moving on to the next thing we're going to talk about today, which is the Lightwell. Now the Lightwell is actually crafted and actually will utilize those rock crystals that we just got, which is why you're going to have to get rock crystals before you can move on to this step. The Lightwell is essentially going to be the block that allows us to generate liquid Starlight, which is used for a lot of different things, including crafting and, upgrading these crystals that we have. So it's something that you're definitely going to want to get as early as you can, but this is the single block that is going to gate you from getting that. So it's pretty important to make. Now, to make this, we have a relatively simple crafting recipe, if you look at it, which is going to be 3 pieces of runed marble, and then 2 pieces of chiseled marble, a rock crystal, and 2 aquamarine. But this is going to be the first craft that we do that actually requires using the luminous crafting table. As you can see, you can't do it in a regular crafting grid. You need it to be in the luminous crafting table. And if we actually go into the Astral Tome and look at the Lightwell page, if you look at anything that requires actual Starlight mechanics in the Luminous crafting table to make, you will see that next to the crafting recipe, if you hover over this little star right here, it says that the Starlight required is minimal. So this is going to give you an idea for all these different crafts about how much Starlight you actually need, and varying crafts are going to have varying requirements. Most of the ones early on are not going to actually have relatively high ones, mainly because we're essentially going off of environmental Starlight, which means that we don't have as much as we could otherwise have if we had all these different mechanics we will have late game to increase it. So what we're going to do is just put down the Luminous crafting table right here, and we can put the recipe in. So we got the ruined marble right here. We have the chiseled marble right here. We're going to put the aquamarine in, and for this, we are going to want to pick what we think is our worst rock crystal. So I'm actually going to go with this one right here. Obviously, it's pretty subjective, but the idea is that rock crystals 9 times out of 10 are going to serve a purpose, and their properties are actually going to enhance what you are making. But there are certain times when the properties actually do not matter at all. And this is one of those cases. When you're actually just doing this simple crafting recipe for the Lightwell, it's not going to matter what the properties are. Any rock crystal will do. So you're actually wasting good rock crystals if you use your better ones. So you're going to take whichever one is the worst and you're going to put it in here. Now, the main reason that I wanted to do this during the day is to show you guys this light that is slowly coming up on the left side here that's very light blue. That is the current Starlight level. The darker blue to the right of that, that's taking up maybe like a sixth of the entire black line, that is the Starlight requirements to do this craft. So as it's becoming progressively darker and darker out, more nighttime, we are increasing our current Starlight levels, and soon they are going to reach the required levels to actually complete this craft. So in maybe like 3 more seconds, it should tick over, and boom, now we can see that this is in fact the correct crafting recipe. We have sufficient Starlight, and we are able to craft this. Now, the reason I want to bring that up is there are scenarios where you will have crafts and you do not have enough Starlight to do them, and that is exactly what it's going to look like. So it's important to learn early what those situations are going to be and the ways that you deal with them, including the fact that as it gets closer to midnight, when it's right in the center of the sky, your Starlight levels will be higher. Elevation increase also increases Starlight levels, and on top of that, when we make the Fosic Resonator at the end of today's episode, that's going to allow us to find areas of higher concentrated Starlight too. So to actually do this craft now, since we can't just pull this out, we're going to take our resonating wand and we are going to right click. And woo, there we go. We got a special sound, very loud sound, apparently. And this thing pops right out. We have our Lightwell. So the crafting is pretty awesome. You get these super cool visual effects to it and all that good stuff. And we get our Lightwell. So now we can put this thing down right over here. And this is what we are going to generate liquid Starlight in. It looks pretty cool. And the way you generate liquid Starlight is by putting some different material in this Lightwell that's going to sort of facilitate the production. And there's a lot of them. So I am going to read these off in order of the most likely to be consumed when doing this production. And that's going to be the aquamarine is the most likely, then resonating gems, rock crystals, attuned rock crystals, celestial crystals, and then attuned celestial crystals. Now, what I mean when I say consumed is essentially when you put the item in here that is going to facilitate the production of liquid Starlight, you are going to have a percentage chance that that item is going to be consumed while producing it. Eventually, any item you use is going to be consumed. It just depends on how long that is going to take. And obviously, the earlier items on that list, like aquamarine, are going to get consumed significantly faster, mainly because they're significantly easier to come by. So when you put the items in here, that's going to determine how long they will go with generating. And if it's nighttime out, you are going to generate more liquid Starlight. You still will generate some during the day, but not nearly as much. And this can hold 2 buckets of liquid Starlight. So after that, if you want it to keep generating, you're going to have to take it out. And so you're going to want to make sure that you're pulling it out when it reaches the 2 bucket maximum. Otherwise, you're just wasting the item. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to use, well, we can use aquamarine because I don't want to waste the only other rock crystal that we have for the time being. Obviously, I'm going to have to go get more. But what we're going to do is take the aquamarine and we're going to right click. And you can see particle effects start happening. And in here, this very cool liquid starts forming. It's awesome. It almost looks like a liquid version of a cloud or something. It's very kind of, wavy. It's got some cool particle effects. It's pretty awesome. Now you can see that it's actually filling up at a pretty decent rate, but it's going to take a little bit before it reaches halfway full, which is going to be 1 bucket. So there are a couple things that we can go over. The liquid Starlight is going to be used for crafting and, increasing the size of the rock crystals. It's going to allow us to do all the upgrades and splitting and combining of rock crystals to make ideal ones. And so it's going to be important for us to have it, but you can also do some pretty cool things. Oh, hello. We have a flare over here. Haha. But it's going to do some pretty cool things when you place it down with water and lava. So when you place it down with moving water, it is going to actually make ice because it is considered super cold. So it will actually produce ice that you can then harvest. And when you put it down with lava, it's going to produce sand. Now you actually also have a chance at producing aquamarine shale, which will then get you aquamarine. So it's not a really high chance, but you could get one. So there are actually some pretty cool automated farms you can set up using this. And if you need a super cool liquid from, a mod pack and you have access to Astral Sorcery, the liquid Starlight does count as a super cool liquid. So I know one of the interactions is with the thermal expansion mods, where you actually need specific upgrades on your transportation pipes when you use this liquid with those transportation pipes, strictly because it is so cold that it will actually, I believe, break the pipes if you don't have one of the upgrades on them to deal with cold liquid. So just a little fun fact for you if you're playing in a mod pack with this and plan on doing some automation, that might be something you need to take into account. I don't know if it works with things like the immersive engineering. I can't even remember the name of the block, but the one that generates power through the heat gradient probably works with that one too. But just a couple cool things to mess around with. So now we're going to want to take some of our iron and make a bucket so that we can grab out the liquid Starlight, because as you can see, it's over halfway full. So now we have a liquid Starlight bucket. And if we were to place this thing down, it would actually give us night vision if we stood in it. But we're going to put it down right over here because we want to use this. And I'll quickly show you guys. If we jump in there, we have night vision. Super cool. But we're going to place it down right here because not only do we need to use this in the actual craft of the Fosic Resonator, as you can see right here, it uses up a full bucket of liquid Starlight, but we need infused wood. And the way you make infused wood is by throwing a set of logs, whatever kinds you want. We're going to use oak logs today, into liquid Starlight, and then they are going to transform into infused wood. So if we throw one in there, you can see you get some orange particle effects, and boom, we get out a piece of infused wood. So we'll throw one more in there, let it transform. There we go. Now we can pick up the liquid Starlight. And if we come over here, we will actually be able to complete the Fosic Resonator craft. So this is going to take 1 aquamarine, 2 marble, 2 infused wood, 1 gold ingot, and 1 bucket of liquid Starlight. So now we're just going to do the same thing as we did before, and we are going to right click on here. We saw that we have more than enough Starlight to actually complete this. And there we go. We have the Fosic Resonator. So this is the last thing we are going to cover in today's episode, and it's very cool and will be very useful for us. So we're going to grab out the bucket real quick and just grab out another set of this liquid Starlight so this doesn't fill up. But you can see now we got a lot of particle effects going on when we hold the Fosic Resonator. And the main purpose of this is to find, I believe they're called Fosic fields, where there is a very high concentration of Starlight. And so the main reason that we need this is because eventually we are going to have to make crafts in the Luminous crafting table that require higher Starlight than we would get on average by just placing it down out in the open. Now, we actually got pretty lucky where we have a lot of these really close by, but depending on the concentration, as you can see right here, this is a pretty heavily concentrated area, but over here, my goodness, we can barely even see the ground. This is a great area. Now, if we were to build in higher elevation over here, we would get a ton of Starlight. So just to take a quick look at this, if we want to grab this up, and if we actually have inventory room for this, what can we drop? We'll drop this string. Eventually I'm gonna have to set up a base, but I wanted to find a nice area before we did it. So if we want to put this down right over here, you can see that it actually has a little bit more starlight, even though it's gotten to a lower time than when we were over there. So this is an area where if you want to maximize your starlight, building up high in areas that have these fields in them are going to be the best way to do that. So if you're looking for an area that's just environmentally high in starlight, that is the way you're going to go about finding it. So I think this is super cool. It's very similar to the resonating wand when it comes to finding the ore. This is going to be for finding areas of high starlight, and it only works at night. So you'll see that as the sun comes up, we actually will be able to see these areas less and less. And over there, that one, because it's so dense, you can kind of see it a little bit still. But this one right here, we can basically not see it at all. And so again, another reason that you're going to probably want to make sure that you're taking full advantage of nighttime is because that is when pretty much everything is going to happen. So I thought that we might be able to see the aquamarine actually break on camera today, but it looks like this one is really toughing it out for us and not breaking, which is honestly awesome, but that will eventually happen to you and you will have to replace it. So as you can see, even though it's daytime out now, it's still generating stuff very slowly, not nearly as fast as it did at night, but it is still generating us some liquid starlight. But that's going to be it for today, guys. Hopefully you guys enjoyed today's episode and found it useful. We will get into some more fun stuff next episode, slowly moving towards more complicated things. But I'm going to try and make a base before next episode now that we can find areas that have a natural high concentration of starlight. That way we won't have issues crafting anything up until the point where we can actually supplement the starlight using some of the cool stuff that comes later. So again, hopefully you guys enjoyed the episode, and I will talk to you later.
Faces rolling past me, all my memories rolling vastly.